This misbegotten mess of a movie is a terrible disappointment for fans of comedy and fans of movies. She goes on. Carvey's genius for impressions is utterly wasted. So is his charm, so is his time, so is ours. Alan Morrison from Empire starts his review a little bit more to the point. This is, without a word of exaggeration, the worst film ever made. Going on to say, the sad result is a film about idiots, made by idiots, for idiots. So here we go. This is the Master of Disguise on this episode of Does This Movie Suck? The Master of Disguise is a 2002 film starring Dana Carvey, Brett Spiner, and Jennifer Esposito. The film was ranked the 18th worst film of the 2000s by Rotten Tomatoes, but it made a ton of money based on a pretty low budget. So here's the thing about The Master of Disguise. There's just not that much information about it as far as backstory is concerned. Sure, there's reviews such as a film about as funny as a seeping wound, but there's very little information as far as the genesis of the actual film. So this led me to do something I've never done for a DTMS review before. I listened to the DVD commentary. And that taught me pretty much nothing. I mean, you could read into the time period. It was 2002, the summer of the third Austin Powers movie. Mike Myers and Dana Carvey were not on speaking terms, and an argument could be made that after a successful time in television, The Master of Disguise was a knee-jerk reaction to Myers' success with Powers. But that's all just speculation. It could be that Dana Carvey just wanted to make a kids movie, and that's what this is. It's a live-action kids movie that even for 2002 was pretty rare. By then, Pixar had already released Toy Story 1 and 2, A Bug's Life, and Monsters, Inc. They were months away from releasing one of their crowning achievements, Finding Nemo. I mention all of these films because the children's film category had changed. These films were all heavily character-driven and had strong stories that not only appealed to children, but also had enough in-jokes and references for adults. So even if The Master of Disguise worked, which it doesn't, the film feels like a throwback to the early 1990s. I mean, there's a few references in there for adults, but mostly this movie is just about being silly and making children laugh. Or making children really bored. This movie's really bad. The plot is very simple. Dana Carvey's character comes from a long line of masters of disguise. He works in a restaurant owned by his father, who's played by James Brolin. And you may be asking yourself, how did they get James Brolin into this movie? I don't know. Probably had to do with money, though. Dana's father is abducted by a bad guy played by Brett Spiner, who forces the father to come out of retirement as a master of disguise to help him steal priceless artifacts so that he can sell them on the internet. Spiner's character has one joke. This is it.
You're a sick man, Bowman.
It's that joke. Every single time.
The whole thing about the farts was we went back and forth about big farts, little farts. Finally, just determined one fart all the time,
right,
with different reactions.
Which was a sound that I made. I'm very proud of that.
Right. Can you do that again? Very nice.
Dana Carvey's character is visited by his grandfather, introduced in this shot, which is an Exorcist reference because that's a movie children have seen. The grandfather informs Carvey of his lineage, training him to be a master of disguise before being written out of the story completely due to studio notes. Seriously.
We got some notes from the studio. Had to come up with a way to get rid of the grandfather, because that was the note. So it was just arbitrary that he must go away.
I watched the DVD commentary, so now you have to suffer. Carvey's character, along with his new assistant played by Jennifer Esposito, uses newfound powers to find his father, stopping the evil man's plan. I remember when this movie came out, it had one of those cardboard stand-ups you see in the movie theaters. It looked a little bit like this. This isn't the exact cutout, but the point is that it had this big wheel, kind of like the Wheel of Fortune, with all of the characters that Dana Carvey plays in the movie around the edge. When I saw that cardboard stand-up for the first time, I thought, that's exactly what the movie's going to be like. It's going to be like spinning a wheel and then Dana Carvey plays a character. Well, I wasn't wrong. The only exception is this character, Turtle Man. The first clue that they find is a cigar with the logo of a place called the Turtle Club on it. Carvey's character dresses up as a turtle to go to the club, misunderstanding what the club is all about.
Am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club?
Is he okay?
He's fine.
He's fine, Turtle.
And this may have been a funny gag, Carvey's character misunderstanding every situation that he's put in, and he goes as just the wrong character. But the rest of the characters in the film are completely random.
Hello, my name's Constable Mueller from the Bavarian Tax Authority.
In this scene, he dresses as an old lady. Here he is at a dinner party as Tony Montana because those children love Scarface.
Say hello to my little friend. Don't touch.
Here he is as Quint from Jaws because kids love Jaws. Here he plays a British special agent because I don't know why. This movie's just an excuse for Dana Carvey to workshop characters. After a while, it just becomes non sequitur theater. The entire movie doesn't make a lick of sense. Neither does the music choices, which is a huge reason why I'm not using a lot of sound from this film. A lot of this movie is covered with popular music, and it's completely random. And to be honest, I don't want this video to get dinged by YouTube. Probably at this point you've noticed that I haven't used the name of Dana Carvey's character. And that's because of the ramifications behind his character's name, and it makes this movie completely unbearable. His character's name is Pistachio Disguisi, and if that's not bad enough, the Italian heritage of his character means that this is what he sounds like throughout the film.
Excuse me, young man. I couldn't help but notice that you became acquainted with the sidewalk a moment ago. We have a clue! Okay, slapping dummy man. Yeah. Well, I think I got it.
If there was some sort of reprieve from the character workshopping in this film, it'd be nice, but when Carvey's not doing a character, you have to listen to this awful, grating, stereotypical Italian accent. It's just terrible. And to a certain extent, the film knows that it's bad. It makes a joke pointing it out.
The silly voices, the making faces, it was fun for like 1 second, okay?
Only 1 second?
If you ever have the misfortune of being stuck on a plane with this film, at least it's not very long. It's an hour and 20 minutes, 15 minutes of which are opening and closing credits. So we're talking about an hour and 5 minutes here. So what else? Oh, this won't surprise you, but this film comes from Happy Madison Productions. So I guess we could dust off the old cliche checklist. Mild to blatant homophobia.
Oh, she could be a good wife for you.
Offensive cultural stereotypes.
Please, Heavenly Father, show me a sign. I promise I will never mock you again.
Open sesame! Open sesame!
Stop that!
Pratfalls and tackles.
Try this.
Okay. I'm okay.
In this movie, Adam Sandler doesn't make a cameo, so it doesn't follow all the rules. But he is responsible for this gag.
Where'd he go?
And that's the gag that ends the scene at the Turtle Club. Now, if you're confused by that joke, you're not half as baffled as Dana Carvey was recording the DVD commentary where he saw the joke for the first time.
That was a crazy Adam Sandler idea to have him chomp the nose off.
Yeah,
and
that was
spit it
that's
back on.
the first time I've seen that. That was interesting.
Yeah.
But I find it hard to hate The Master of Disguise. Now, don't get me wrong, it's an abomination, but it has its heart in the right place. It's just misguided at every level. It's a children's film that seems to be made by children, not by professional comedians. I guess I could talk about the fallout. Not being able to use a lot of footage from the film kind of curbs what I can do in the episode, but believe me, it's for the best. In an interview with IGN after the movie came out, Dana Carvey said that he had 2 movies in the works right after The Master of Disguise, in addition to possibly a sequel to this film. But his next film would come 9 years later, with a bit role in another notoriously bad film. And I'm sure we'll get to that at some point. Help me. His next big role wouldn't come until 2015, 13 years after The Master of Disguise. So yeah, that movie's pretty terrible. Did I mention the movie ends with a fart joke?
Is he dead?
So yeah, it's pretty bad.
This is what you're doing. This is what I want you to do. Any questions?
So that's all for this episode. I've listed all my social media in the description below, and there's another episode over here you can check out. And we'll see you next time when we ask the question, does this movie suck? Hopefully it's better than this one.
I'm going to be a master of disguise. I'm going to be a master of disguise. I'm going to be a